Neither of their carries have played it. So this is first time for 2019 on this Akali. The Ryze versus Syndra matchup is Syndra favored, as we well know, in the mid lane, but Ryze can grin and bear most matchups. Top Ryze has very few counters.
Show up on that Akali. Kuzan getting his Ryze once again.
Very interesting here. A lot of lane power on the side of VSG. Definitely not late game team fighting Vladimir win conditions. Not necessarily going to be done in the late game, but this is a draft that gets it done earlier. That has been more ESS's Paddock outside of game number 4, but this is it. The best of one for everything.
One game to decide who's got another chance to make it into the LCK. Let's find out who's going to win right now. There you go. It took a little while, but everybody came on down eventually to support these teams from challengers. As our observer is going to point out that Akali here, Jisoo, has taken Conqueror up in the top side.
I wonder if this will mean what it does in solo queue, because when you see the Conqueror, you're not bound to it, but very often there's an AD build coming for Akali. I see you motioning over to Doran's Blade. I mean, at the end of the day, that doesn't really mean anything, but I think it's definitely flows into that narrative. I haven't seen a Conqueror like a Triforce Akali in pro play. But I'm sure it's something that maybe someone around the world has done in a non-major region. Definitely see it quite a bit in solo queue. I really, really like the Ashe pick here because they were thinking about Vayne, and when it comes to Light as a player, we lamented some of his struggles on hyper carries. His Jinx especially was not great. The first time out. The laning matchup against Lucian, you have the outrange just like Varus, in fact more range on to the Ashe. And also, while VSG, very strong in 2v2s and 1v1s, we said we liked their drafts in lane, eventually, Lucian, Syndra, Irelia all start walking up and they might catch an arrow and die. So, because of that, I think Ashe punishes this VSG comp that's much more about playing from ahead with a vision lead than it is necessarily in an even game. But it's at the cost of Jisoo, first time on the year Akali. Light, first time on the year Ashe. And the lack of comfort on those players, the two biggest underperformers a few days ago, is something we're going to have to evaluate minute upon minute.
Well, we're zooming into the bottom lane here so far. That Ashe you were talking about certainly will have to have a big effect in this one. Take a look at some of the runes here. I believe that's double, I forget what the Legends Tenacity one, the name of that one is, but you had it taken by both Rek'Sai and Akali here up against a lot of CC on the side of VSG.
Want to build Ninja Tabi nice and early. My eyes are actually on the mid lane rune. Kuzan's got Aftershock Rise for the first time in a while. We've seen skill matchups top lane where you want to take Comet to exploit the fact that the spaced out trades in a long lane are different, but in mid lane, when Syndra is so good at just pressing R on top of you, it makes sense to go Aftershock to not just be blown up come level 6 on Syndra and Jarvan.
We also got a highlight here of the what's it called, the jungle path from the side of Cats. Went red up to Scuttle up to enemy Krugs. Interestingly enough, wants to help Jisoo keep that pressure up in the top side and deny that very nice XP and gold camp on the Krugs from the Jarvan.
Jarvan doesn't like doing Krugs because he goes for a machete start, which is the single target choice, and his base stats are good. You know, they've buffed a couple of times, but again, doesn't excel in that area. Anyone who builds Tiamat in at least half their builds isn't going to want to take down the Krugs early. It's not how it works, so Jisoo trading nicely, so Billy has been practicing this Akali off and away from the stage.
Really clean, actually. Drops the Shroud right as the stun is landing, essentially, to deny so much damage from the Irelia.
And while we've been kind of lamenting, okay, taking a risky pick, not his usual picks, the actual matchup against Irelia, you get a lot of value out of Buff Shroud from the last couple of patches where you can extend the duration and drop out, make something like Irelia's passive. Not every time, for minion waves there, obviously she can build it up again. But it's about windows, and Irelia really only has kill pressure when Jisoo's Shroud is down.
That's going to be the name of the game. It's one way to help your jungler out, force a shroud to happen, and then afterwards have the jungler pop in, because especially with the Jarvan, it's going to be hard to land that stun up against somebody who's so slippery. Speaking of Jarvan, Ryan makes his way up to the top side to help Soar with the push, so he can get a nice back timing.
And Aurelia kind of needs to get rid of Shroud and then hit the stun, which best of luck on Flash Akali. It's not even the Ignite teleport Akali we had back in Vesper Cup. There's just so many things that need to stack up that unless you're Malzahar or hitting Syndra Sphere, it's going to be hard. So because of that, in spite of kind of our, trepidation around the Akali pick, definitely could be one that's very effective. You guys all know about item breakpoints. There's no reason it's not going to be Gunblade here. Again, we're just used to Fleet Footwork and the AP route. Gunblade definitely seems to be coming anyway, so Akali pretty flexible in the build path, and no reason we won't just see Conqueror for, I guess, some of the sustain it provides.
Kuzan thinking about taking out that ward, but shut down by Ryan, making his way over. Another kind of boring Drake to start this one out. The Cloud Drake is going to be the one that does spawn here first.
No Hecarim today. Just thinking about that.
Yeah. Too much of that yesterday.
Yeah, I guess we used our horse material, and then we asked both coaches to stay away from the Hecarim. We also lost...
We have so much more influence than you guys, actually.
I mean, noted horse enthusiast Atlas is not here today, so the team's on a bound not to select it.
He loves his horses, that's for sure.
So much Hecarim around the world that I was struck by the fact that it wasn't picked or banned today. We thought it might be on the cards in the previous game, but the Skarner ended up being super effective after all.
You're saying that Atlas was a horse guy. There's like kind of a stereotype against, not against, but for girls that are really into horses. You ever hear that before?
No.
It's actually a thing. Maybe, it's not as common down in Australia, but definitely in America it's a thing. But I was just wondering if you knew anything about horse guys, or if anything changes.
I just think of cowboys. I don't know.
Atlas doesn't really strike me as a cowboy in the traditional sense.
I've heard him
maybe
say
the Australian version.
Yeah!
I've heard him make similar sounds, but not exactly yeehaw. As Catch is saying yeehaw, picks up that red buff quite easily, actually. Nice little smite there. And he's even going back in.
Ends up being a lot of contesting around that red buff. It is an area where the Akali's don't want. Speaking of Akali.
Yeah, ult comes in. That stun is not going to hit anybody. They force the flash away. Very safe on that one by Soar, as the second half of the perfect execution was already used. Null Magic Mantle helping out in dividends so far.
Catch a little bit easier. Try to get some stun chains on, but Ryan not going to find it. Top side. They get the Shroud, but it seems like Ryan's more interested in helping his laner push than anything else.
Just hanging around, seeing if maybe Katz was going to go for another go-around, but it's not going to be happening here.
Have you ever rode a horse?
No, actually.
Never.
I had a couple of chances, but...
Even as a kid, like, on a small dinky horse or something like that?
No ponies, no horses, no donkeys. No ligers.
I never learned how to ride a horse. I had kind of a tutorial as a kid, and kind of riding a horse kind of is it. But I've never actually been in full control of a horse, but I have at least ridden on the south.
I'm from the southern part of New York, not the northern.
What about at a bar, on the video game kind of
No,
equivalent?
actually.
Really?
Not even that, yeah.
Wow. Surely I thought you'd have done that.
I did not have a lot of horses in my childhood.
Did you have a lot of arcades in your childhood, to bring it back to the video game kind of analogy? Did you, what of the game, have you played any of Dance Dance Revolution or any of those exaggerated movement games?
Yeah, I've played them before. My favorite rhythm game was always Guitar Hero. That counts.
Yeah.
Me and Achilleos very similar in that. We had a couple of nights where we reminisced about Guitar Hero. I miss Achilleos.
He's off doing his thing, and we're here for ESS versus PSG. Going full 5 games, baby. You know what? There's not many places around the world I would rather be. I love myself some Korean League of Legends. This one's been a battle. It hasn't been explosive. It's been a lot of grinding.
Yeah.
But that, I think, makes sense for two teams that we just really can't pick apart. I think both these teams come in underdogs against Jin Air, so that's a bit of a struggle. But you know what you want, Valdez? You want to be able to come in against Jin Air. The worst is to leave today and be done so, because that'd be so many hours of practice and scrimming, not paying off.
I mean, we talked about it before, but just imagine, getting so close. Imagine the series against Jin Air for either of these teams goes to Game 5 and then, somebody makes a mistake and they end up losing it. And you have to play an entire other series of season of Challenger. Again, after you reverse sweep APK Prince, well, in VSG's case at least, to beat the odds and beat out the favorite.
I mean, a lot of my life choices came down to the what if question, which if you lose here, what if we could have played Jin Air and beaten them? Jin Air aren't that good. They're a team that won one series in all of the LCK. Not an insult, no flame. They have played better than these two teams in this tournament, but it's one best of 5. What if we had gotten there and we could have won is something that is going to be asked by either ES Sharks or VSG. Right now, seeing a pretty big rotation around the Rift Heralds just spawned, of course. Lucian can't get there. Everyone from ESS can.
And so you see VSG say, okay, you guys win. We don't have our AD carry. Not much that we can do. Ryan just going to back away from this one. Maybe they'll try to trade the Cloud Drake just because they don't really have much of a choice outside of doing that. But Rift Herald will go down.
Definitely the controlled play. If you walk up, contest that Rift Herald, lose because your Lucian isn't there, you're going to be kicking yourself. So ends up being the controlled play. Not the greatest Drake to answer it, but you take a freebie and you just back away. Just coming back to the what if question, I wouldn't be a caster if not for what if. Like you and I both started casting before there was full-time caster jobs around the world. There was no Riot casters when we started casting, so you had to take a leap of faith and you didn't know where it was going, and esports in a different spot, but you took it because you loved it and you want to take a risk. The what if question is a big one, maybe being heard in just about 20 minutes, but for now it's what if Source survives this turret.
Ult comes in and he is going to stay in that W and just chill out, and you can see that the Sharks are like, okay, sorry Aurelio, we didn't mean to bother you, but freaked out a little bit there. Did have the Hex Drinker and actually had a lot of, biscuits and the Corrupting Potion picking. So actually would have been a pretty hard kill to pull off.
This game has been very nice manners. ES Sharks use their Abyssal Voyage and VSG said, oh, thank you very much, sir. Enjoy your Drake is top side.
Speaking of which, this time around, no ultimate available. Flash comes in, plus the ultimate. First blood. Nicely done by Jisoo as well to tank that one out and make that kill available.
We found a bully. It's Catch in the top lane. Jisoo and Catch come together. They find a kill. First blood of the game. Apparently, the truce is over. No more bunkering. We're going for action.
No more Devour here down on the bottom side, so you could see that Ryan was trying to make it work, but fortunately Syndra, not the most mobile champion in the game, and well, at 12 minutes and 55 seconds, they take down all the plates and the turret up in the top lane.
And no TP bot lane. They weren't feeling strong enough to try to make that play happen through the Ryan roam. So ends up being a lot more impact top side than bot side. Can Veritas punish? Not with the Devourer off cooldown.
That picks him up, spits him out, and this lane will continue, and that's, obviously the Lucian lane has been doing pretty well down in the bottom side. A lot of just devouring for safety and being pushed in here for like Cougar, but as long as they don't get demolished and they don't lose their turret too fast, I mean, the rest of the map is going decently well for them, especially that top lane.
And there's no jungle attention at all bot side, so even though we've seen Varus Tahm Kench do well, downgrading Varus to Ashe and getting no jungle means that this is the result. Like you say, the Ashe arrow is always going to be there. The item might be halfway done when it comes to, say, the second item completion, but it'll be close enough. So for now, at least, seems like things are falling into place. Better for the Sharks and the blue side in this game. And it's also worth mentioning that Kuzan has uninterruptedly gotten to level 10 with no deaths. That's pretty good for us.
It's quite nice. I mean, already has that Archangels just chilling. Wasn't able to get a plate. The Syndra was able to win out in that fact, but the 5 plates on the top side for the Akali and the Rex side to get going is quite fantastic for the side of the Sharks.
A Gunblade recipe, extra worth of gold plus on the side of the Akali, and Aurelia's been forced into the piecemeal build of not much at the moment. Trinity Force feels a long way away. Remember, no Tiamat. Usually that's the item you build that's not Trinity Force. Had to go Hex Drinker, and then Merc Treads completed against a lot of crowd control and double AP in inverted commas. So had to go situational with a lot of the builds so far as Sora. So Trinity Force Aurelia, that's really the normal breakpoint. That's ages away.
Yeah, it's definitely an awkward feel. This is kind of the build that you go for when it's like you're just getting camped up in the top side, and you have to rely on your team to carry a lot of the time. But take a look at this once again. Nice stun onto Catch, but unfortunately he can drop aggro. The Hex Drinker helps out, but a simple flash from Kuzan will get him to safety.
Even though they had to labor, it's Rek'Sai Rise, the easiest, easy peasy stuff for the side of ES Sharks. An inner turret as well. Remember that outer turret didn't go down until now, I believe.
Yeah.
So that's definitely a huge tempo lead topside. Red side wards can go down, making anyone predictable, and they already out-rotato you due the Abyssal Voyage and the amount of utility on the side of ES Sharks. They've got the Realm Ward, we didn't even mention that, so it's really falling into place, and we haven't seen any execution errors on this Akali. Right now, it's feeling like ES Sharks at the big lead, but we would have said that about game number 3. There's still time for things to take a turn.
And you can see that VSG, they're resorting to some interesting efforts, but it looks like they were spotted all the way through. Ryan is going to try to get out of there. Really nice stun. But that's Scatter the Weak as Ruby just says goodbye. So TP blown, and looks like just the one flash at a Pure. And at the end of the day, VSG is able to get away.
And you see where the game is at, where Jisoo can pop over the wall with his E, and no one is even going to force him to use his ultimate, which is on cooldown, as we know, but might not have been full information. The side of VSG, no pressure onto him. They actually pressure late to try to clean up the Drake and the Rex side.
Okay. Nice amount of damage there. That's that Press our Syndra coming into effect with no pressure there, so they get Catch, who essentially, just goes all in onto that Ocean Drake, and meanwhile, because of that, they get the pick, and now they're going to get even more.
That was a really unlikely walk-up from VSG, because you just assumed the Drake was going over and everyone was regrouping, but it ended up being inspired. Well played by them, with Ruby coming in and getting the kill. ES Sharks thought that it was over, that the white flag had been raised, and that, oh good, an Ocean Drake for us. Instead, the Ocean Drake is claimed, but the kill and the mid lane turret, that's an outstat, you feel really good about that if you're VSG.
Absolutely. I mean, maybe it was just the Ashe and the Tahm Kench showing in mid. I'm not sure 100% where Kuzan was at that moment in time, but either way, it was a great read, as you mentioned, and that's what you need to try to come back in wonky situations like this where your Aurelia is kind of useless. You need to get gold elsewhere on the map, and getting your Syndra now pretty fed is a good read here for the side of ESG.
The binding there seemed like a pretty generous hitbox, but sometimes hard to tell. It killed him. That's all we know. So nice little capitalization from VSG. To me, the turret, the much bigger win, is if you have a outer mid lane turret lead with Ashe Tahm Kench, best of luck ever being in position for something resembling a fight. Now that Ashe Tahm Kench can at least be lane warded, or you have to draw a control ward out to get rid of the lane ward, that's at least an extra tool you're forcing from ESS, because otherwise it felt like VSG was being dictated to by ESS in almost every single facet of the game.
Light going to come up here and start farming, desperately trying to get some items here. Just has that Zeal. Well, we were showing the gold there for a split second, didn't get to see the difference.
It's a peep show.
Yeah. Not quite fast enough. I only saw the, through the crack, but not too much else.
Oh, well.
Not a lot of detail.
Next time, Valdez. And ES Sharks, again, is still in a really good spot. This game is still pretty solid, but if you notice the map control, suddenly the team with the rotational lead doesn't have a gazillion control wards in the river and the ability to run the map. They're actually being rotated on by VSG. However, spotting the Rek'Sai as topside, there's a lot going on.
Look at Kuzan just going 1v2, and oh boy, that arrow is going to hit onto the Lucian, who does not have anywhere to go here. No cleanse, no QSS, and the 2-second stun. Harut is going to come in. There's nowhere for him to go. Nice pick there from the side of the ES Sharks.
Yeah, the arrow actually traveled enough that it was over a 2-second stun of itself.
Yeah.
Not quite the first 3.5. Here's the members.
They're looking for more, and you can see that Ryan wanted none of that. Just immediately got away, left Morgana to die.
Whoa, she went into dust, literally. That's sad.
Morgana's, you know.
Avengers,
very
coming to you
mysterious.
next week. What?
I don't get the reference, but.
That's
But yeah, I mean, that's a really nice, you know, couple of picks that do come through. You had Jisoo down here on the bottom side. Looked like Catch alongside him was able to do a nice amount of pressure down there to get those turrets in.
Pick comp is reliable. The map control wasn't as relevant there because we're just playing in a single lane. That's the power of Ashe, so I'm happy they went away from the Vayne. That could have been snowballed upon. The Ashe is always relevant. Ashe arrow comes in, and with this much travel time, let's watch how long this is. Yeah, it's about 2 seconds, maybe even slightly more. And from there,
It's like 3.
yeah, never a chance. 3.5 if it travels, I believe, kind of like Galio ult range, maybe a little bit less than that. But yeah, it was definitely towards the higher end of the maximum amount. Into the Death Chamber they go. 2 items done on Veritas. It's the Essence Reaver Essence Reaver play the Ruin King, so no Black Cleaver yet, probably no Black Cleaver coming. It's a build that doesn't have any great synergy as 2 items, it just gives you some lifesteal and a bit of crit and mana return. You know, Blade, Black Cleaver, or Zeal item into Essence Reaver. That's usually how you want to go together.
Yeah.
Winning lane, I guess that's why Blade came in, but right now the build doesn't give you a lot of immediate power.
Ruby fishing here for some kind of pick, has to flash away as Pure. Gonna create space with that ultimate, but now he doesn't have a shield, and he's gonna be hit in the face with that arrow. But they didn't quite have vision. They weren't able to get the kill here. Kuzan in the backline is gonna go down. Great kiting from the side of ESG. They're gonna get a couple of kills now. In goes Aurelia. You can see Clash trying to get on in there, but not quite able to get the kill as Jisoo. It's all up to him in the Shroud. He gets 1, gets 2.
Uh-oh.
Gets out to safety.
With the Conqueror, it's a lot of sustain as well.
And he's going to get the plant. They're turning this around. Jisoo's going to be a monster.
Hey, don't say that. This is just Jisoo. He's pretty much solo trying to win the back end of this fight. Now he's waiting for a face check, not going to get one. That was a surprising amount of back end to sustain.
That's just the perfect moment for Akali, too, where you're in the back line and the fight is just turning into a bit of a clown fiesta, and you can just pick off one by one.
So ESS messed this up. Remember that comp has single target deletion? They want to use all their single target CC to get people. The Black...
By the way, Syndra died.
Oh, well, that's awkward. I missed how that happened. I was focused on the fight. But at this point, you think VSG wins it 10 out of 10 times. Jisoo was waiting, couldn't actually use the ultimate for anything relevant, but then watch Jisoo towards the end as in picture-in-picture. ES Sharks are getting a push on, dives in, and watch the sustain. It's always going up. This finds casual 133, 121. It adds up, and then like through the plant you mentioned, Jisoo's almost full health.
Yeah. It looks like we'll get a replay of this one as well. Ruby,
oh, it wasn't that exciting.
He stayed a little bit too long. Very, very simple kill there. As the Sharks are going to return to the Mountain Drake after that kill. Very easy snatch up off of the Rift, and another Mountain will greet them as the 4th Drake of the game.
And you can just see that this game is kind of the summation we needed of a 5-game series where there has been a couple of throws left and right, where no team has been convincingly better than the other. ES Sharks have a lot that we like about this comp. The Akali is god tier. Remember, this is effectively the old 800 gold bounty in the 1,000 gold maximum days. Only 200 gold short. Got more farm and more kills. So this Akali is basically a win condition in and of itself. And yet, if you're kind of pushing me right now and saying, who you betting on, I'm still keeping my money in my pocket. I'm still not sure between ES Sharks and VSG versus game.
I mean, you look across the rift, and you do see a Syndra that's nicely fed. You see the Aurelia finally got her item, that Trinity Force. So there are some options, and you can see the way that VSG are playing these team fights, too. They're not just, trying to go balls to the wall with the Syndra just straight into the Sharks. They're just really kiting it extremely well.
So these tools need to be used well. Realm Warp and Abyssal Voyage get to a Baron. We've seen so many times, Valdez. Maybe that's what ES Sharks needs, a pick into a rotation. The Baron buff does a huge number on VSG. Their wave clear is awful the moment those Baron buff minions come in.
Bit of rotation on over here, but Lightning is going to be stunned up, and you can see Soar, he's looking for that follow-up after the Devour, not quite going to land it. Just getting the stun on Tahm Kench, but it's not enough.
Culling is down. Otherwise, a lot of ultimates available, but we saw Realm Warp be used. Recently, Abyssal Voyage actually back off cooldown already, so pretty short cooldown on that ability. Right now, no Baron control, so the Bjergsen style play of Realm Warping in and burning it. You look at their team and say their Baron burn damage is okay. It's not outrageously huge, but it's okay. Their turn also okay. Ashe Arachnaya has to do a lot of the heavy lifting of using Realm Warp to get in the pit. So you need a pick into an out rotation if you are ESS, and that's not going to happen just yet.
Ruby now coming up to the top side. Always got to keep an eye on this Syndra. If you look across the rift, they do have a decent amount of MR across the board. You got the Banshee's Veil and the Akali, most importantly. Some null magic mantles here and there, Merc Threads on a couple of them. And even the Lock of the Iron Solari is going to be very important, just to try to cut down on that huge burst that a champion such as Syndra, but not even just her, but also the Lucian and the Aurelia will bring into the rift.
And I want to draw your attention to the item builds on the Ryze and Akali. Both of them have AP Bruiser-ish items. Righteous Glory, Doinby Inspired coming through from Kuzan, wanting to lead the troops. That means he's better at getting initiation and leading with a Realm Warp and having his allies leverage the rest of the damage. Akali, Sonya's and Banshee Veil, no death cap in this build. So she's able to have a lot more in-fight tankiness. That to me says hit and hope as ES Sharks. You have a lot of initiation tools, and you have build paths that with a gold lead are a bit more forgiving to frontlining. So it's on ESS right now to make the aggressive moves. I feel like they've drafted comp, played towards it. Meanwhile, VSG are kind of waiting and lying in wait for ES Sharks to make a mistake.
Well, you mentioned Abyssal Voyage, Realm Warp. One of them gets used down into the bottom side. They're going to get another turret, whereas VSG, in the meanwhile, look at some wards down, maybe be able to clear out some vision, but slowly but surely, the objective is being chunked down here by the side of the Sharks.
For viewers at home, if you want to see the Realm Warp play, you need top and mid control. They're not playing top, so Sharks are not putting themselves in position to use this control ward on the Baron. In fact, VSG were playing on the top side of the map, waiting for a flank teleport here. They have one option, the ward on the left of your screen.
Yeah, it's just a blue ward below them, so can't TP there.
It's also kind of optimistic, right? When it's Tahm Kench on the enemy team and Aurelia's the one pulling off the flank. If VSG want to threaten the Realm Warp play, they must control red side jungle and push mid and top. If they're playing bot side, they can't use that Realm Warp. And it ends up being kind of not a useless ability, but definitely an unlikely one to find a big advantage.
Feel the tension building in this game as even VSG are fighting back. The TPs are coming in as Ryan with a nice Cataclysm into that back line. But do they have the damage? It doesn't look like it. Jisoo is still alive with a huge amount of damage coming out from that perfect execution. But it goes Soar, still looking for the opportunities. Down will go catch here, but Light getting pretty low, but still Jisoo is alive in the background, and it's all Kuzan as well. That stays alive for so long on that tanky Ryze, the Bruiser Ryze, as you mentioned. The TPs are coming in, and the Sharks are going for the end.
They're going for as much as they can get, possibly, Valdez. It was all about the staying power of the items on ES Sharks. They went early, they needed to buy time, but time is something they were able to build, and their time to make it to the final best of 5 might be now. They're going to get, at minimum, this inhibitor, and they call in Kuzan for the TP.
They're going for more. 10 seconds on Morgana.
Is this too greedy?
12 on the Syndra. They're going to try to ignore the Jarvan here. Oh, now they're turning onto him.
That's a bit confused.
Yeah, okay, they're going to get Jarvan here, but Okay, the Baron comes in. I'm like, where did he go? Down goes Jarvan, but they stop the killing of the base, which is pretty huge, as now you can see VSG moving up towards the top side.
That tells you the TP from Kuzan was misused, because now that was used for nothing, Valdez. This fight is all about having reliable pick champions with strong damage who don't die fast. Look at how much free damage they take to VSG fighting back as the Mountain Drake is being taken in the picture-in-picture. Then Jisoo needs everything to wait out, to occupy space. Watch the perfect execution. Q, it does 900 damage to both in an AoE, and it's only the build pass and some surefire team fighting that just, and I mean just, this was close, way closer than the gold would indicate. This is what was required, given that they're forced onto VSG. Found a VSG team that was defensive until the last.
That 1-2 punch of Jisoo going in first, doing a huge amount of the damage, and then the tanky Rise coming in towards the end, and just literally standing in front of 3 of them and saying, I'm just going to kill you all. You don't have any damage left over to kill me after you used everything to try to kill my Akali. And that's exactly what he's able to do. Really good positioning, I'd say, from Kuzan as well. And just game knowledge to know that he could go into that back line and do the amount of damage that he did.
And game knowledge is always something that's very hard to fully talk about in League of Legends. There's so many facets to it, right? There's knowing what the skills do, and knowing what the champion's doing, knowing what the interactions are, knowing the history of the game. It's why when people talk about color casting, talk about game knowledge, it feels like caster on caster might mean a different thing, but of course the umbrella makes sense. To me, that was kind of gamesmanship of knowing how you can click your buttons and what all those little variables are. The Uzi in a team fight, always living on a sliver and never using the summon spell at the wrong time. The gamesmanship from ESS just, and I mean just, carry them over the line. It now blows open the game in a meaningful way, but is it a game ender? We're going to find out soon.
They do have quite the lead here, just about 7.2 thousand gold, and they're going to get even more with the turrets falling. And you can see that Jisoo, I think he was spotted coming on over to this spot. Soar is going to be able to push this one back. So for now, will just be that inner turret that does go down.
So many of the easy objectives are down. They've even cracked the base. The Baron feels like a game closer on VSG. I don't think they could possibly survive it. They're going to start to compete around this area.
Arrow goes straight into the Black Shield as Jisoo's like, well, what am I going to do now? There's not much follow-up as everybody else was funneling through the jungle, so good idea to not go in that time around.
Sorkin back. He's got some good TP wards if it becomes around Baron that aren't spotted by control vision. ESS a little bit cheap about the control wards around the Baron, so they will be flanked in that possibility. For now, Aurelia going to show herself onto the minion waves, and those wards, they're running out real soon.
Yeah.
Like now. They're gone.
They're gone. They don't see anything. I mean, there's the one on the left side now that Pure just placed down. That's going to be the key one right behind them. But already, Ruby's going to disappear before the fight even begins. But they trade it back on a Jisoo. Now trying to land that binding as Guger trying to just get the Devourer onto Soar, but the knock up here by Ryan is going to deny it for now. Really all eyes on Kuzan, and he's the big damage. Soar trying to get on in there, but the aftershock is huge. Ryan gonna go down, his life still available, just standing still and delivering, and Kuzan is still very high on the health and should be able to win this fight for him. It's only Veritas left over. As the ult will come in, and see you later. Double kill will go down, and it looks like the Sharks are going to go for the end now.
Well, they're trying to buy time, but I don't think it's enough with Abyssal Voyage. 2 members there pushing in. Death timers at their shortest on Ruby in 8 seconds. It's Syndra 1v2, otherwise down to challengers for VSG.
That should be it. I mean, it doesn't look like there's enough time as Ruby. Okay, I'm going to hold that thought as he does actually spawn on time. The game is not over.
That's the double debate from ES.
I know, that's close.
They made the mistake with the Rise teleport. Didn't matter. They still were able to get their picks with their gold lead. This time the Abyssal Voyage comes in. Rise can't back them up. Again, gets them nothing. They need the Realm Warp there to make that level of a play. So the game extends again. We're debated again. And one team fight is won somehow. And it's a miracle. It's unlikely. But VSG, they're not done yet.
They're not done, but here you can see Ryan shows himself on the super minions in the bottom side, and so the Sharks just say, okay, we'll just take this one.
No mistake about that. You can't walk past all the King CC on ES Sharks and steal a Baron. That's not realistic when it's Ashe, Rise, Rek'Sai, Akali. It's not going to happen. So Baron giving up. That means almost a 10,000 gold lead given up. Gonna watch the replay here. If this is going with Overwatch analysis of who's traded, Akali dying first is not good, right? The death report is telling you that Jisoo and her 1,000 gold spree has now gone to the enemy team. But the problem is that VSG are fighting an enemy terrain. They're trying to kite out and get, say, another flawless duet cooldown onto Sora, but eventually Kuzan finds his root cooldown, and that means that ESS should always trade up.
Kuzan, Aftershock just laughs in the face of that damage. He's surprisingly tanky. Not much, or not enough damage, I should say, because they do have a decent amount with the Aurelia Cinder Lucian, but not able to thread it through for any kills onto the Rise, who is now unbelievably fed.
Yeah.
Maybe even more so than the Akali at this point, with the Rabadon's death cap completed here. I'm not sure what they can do to take out this Rise.
I remember back in Season 2, the thing everyone hated on the LoL forums, not on the Reddit, back before the Reddit was a big thing, was tanky DPS. I hate the tanky DPS. Warmogs, Atmos, Trinity Force, these builds, right?
Yeah.
This Rise is a tanky DPS with this build. We don't really talk about that term anymore because we've got bruisers and other more eloquent words, but this fits what I remember of this guy can't die, and holy crap does he do a lot of damage.
He kills me, but I can't kill him. How's that fair? That doesn't make sense, but Rise trying to redefine that role, and it's a big reason, you know, nowadays, especially with the very fine-tuned builds that came out. Big reason why he's just so great in pro play, as well with that Realm Warp and all the Realm Warp plays that were discovered. He's a gigantic champion to go for.
Yeah, I think Bruiser undersells him. Jarvan with Warrior Enchant is a Bruiser.
Yeah.
No one who buys a Death Cap, unless it's Rumble 6th item, is a Bruiser. So, right now, hard to deal with the Rise assignment for anyone. Ruby especially is scared, and Aurelia dies slowly.
What happened to Veritas' health? I didn't quite see that disappear immediately, as he's going to have to go back and spice more time with still in minute
Here comes
left
the Baron
over.
minions in mid lane.
Okay, that Bruiser taking a lot of damage as Rise, or rather, Ryan is going to have to also go back. So, 2 inhibitors fall. Veritas trying to get on into Jisoo. Actually, the culling is going to be used here. It's going to flash an ult away just barely to save me. So, has to use basically everything to get out of harm's way.
And the good news for lovers of long games, 40 minutes is probably going to be on the cards here. It's quite a long time till Elder spawns. The blue side Baron buff's about to wait out. Jisoo has teleport though. Maybe we told a lie. Maybe they can find a way to get a pick and close this game.
Jisoo makes his way back in. So that'll make things interesting to push the 2 lanes. But Baron is going to end right now. The only thing is that they're about to lose their last inhibitor turret, so not much of a defense left over for the side of VSG, just that one Nexus turret.
They can draw the minion wave to mid though, as here we go.
Light just walking forward there. Cougar has to save his life, but now Jisoo in the back line. Has a bit of help from his friends, but he's going to be ulted down. But Rise, Kuzan still available, doing that damage. Flashes forward, he's going to bounce some on top of that Aurelia. And nobody can stand up to this Rise now. And it feels like the side of the Sharks know it too. The damage is going to be enough. Ryan is going to be interrupted. They're going to get every kill. And it looks like the ES Sharks are going to buy themselves one last ticket to try to make it into the LCK.
The Sharks are finally circling a 1 Nexus, and that means they will play Jin Air Green Wings on Sunday for the final spot in LCK Summer 2019. It was a very long, drawn-out series, and the last game kind of felt like a metaphor for the series as a whole, as both teams had them to the LCK. That is a pretty buff Shark.
That's a Chad Shark right there, for sure.
Kind of looks like Captain Flowers, if I think about it.
Yeah, a little bit.
He'd take that as a compliment.
He's got the jaw. He's got the jaw.
He's also, that guy's pretty buff these days,
I
can tell you. So he's been at the gym, so he deserves buff Shark status. Sad for VSG to be unable to come back in. GC Busan was that team was so impressed by in the Kesper Cup, but I would say categorically the combination of the 2 squads, the 10-man roster, it's been another one on the 10-man roster fails rather than 10-man roster successes. It reminds me more of Longzhu in 2016 that never got the best of some pretty talented players. Will we see any of these individual players in the LCK in summer? We're not to know. Back to challengers for VSG. VSG versus BBQ coming to a stream near you. The ES Sharks versus Jin Air. Kuzan fans, they can be happy for a couple of days, but they know a lot of work to be done. To be fully happy, Kuzan needs to upset his previous org in a best-of-5 in order to make it to the LCK.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, if I'm Jin Air, I'm sitting back on Friday. Obviously, they're doing a lot of analysis and thinking about how they're going to defeat this team. But after today, I'm not super scared, right? If the Sharks came in and they, stomped it 3-0 and showed a bunch of different picks, I'm like, oh boy, maybe these guys are actually going to come into play this time around. But after today, I'm Jin Air. I'm like, yeah, I got a lot of intel, 5 games, learned a lot about the different picks. Jisoo can play Akali. We learned that. They waited until Game 5 to pull it out for the first time and prove it. And it's just a lot of information for Jin Air coming in to say, hey, we've got a decent chance against this team.
And the ES Sharks were the easier of the two teams to prep for because they got 5 players. They play a very standard style. Yes, they can have some creative counter picks for lanes, but that's realistically one a game, right? A big counter pick. Kled could come out. A Renekton was banned in this game. Otherwise, they're a very standard team. And who's to say Jin Air won't be better than the standard that ES Sharks provide on Sunday? So, of the two, the predictable one is the one they find. So yeah, you keep doing what you're doing, Jin Air. And based on what we've seen recently, it does right now appear like it should be enough.
Seems that way. I do feel like Jisoo on his day might be, a bit more flashy and maybe able to pull off the carrying a little bit better than Linderong. I also think the mid lane is probably Kuzan favored. But the bottom lane for Jin Air, I feel like, has the win in that asset. And the jungle could really go either way. Maybe slightly Jin Air favored in my mind. So in terms of just individual placements and positions, it also does feel good for Jin Air. But we'll have to wait and see. Anything can happen on that given day in the best-of-5.
One best-of-5 is all the Korean League of Legends we have. It's been a very interesting first LCK split in Lowell Park. One more match and then Lowell Park's going to be dormant for a while and not back for sometime in June if last year's calendar is to be continued. There's a lot of business at MSI to attend to before then. But you and I, we get one more. You and I on Sunday. I hope we get some horsies. I hope we get some fun. Another Raid Boss Rise. Maybe Rise on the ban list every game.
I would agree with that one. Let's not see Rise. I think that's definitely a good idea for both of these teams, unless you have the first pick. Probably Red Side Rise bans would be coming in, but once again, to get another one of these graphs, it was a little bit slower to accelerate in this one as the game did take a while to eventually complete, but the ES Sharks in 5 games were able to outplay VSG more often, and they did pick up the win, so what do you think about the Sharks? What do you think is going through their mind if they're going up against Jin Air? Do you feel like they're going to come in with confidence, or maybe not so much?
I'd be erring more on the end of that point of just being a little bit unsure about this. We won't have to speculate too much today. Thankfully, we will have, imagine a short interview. I imagine your Sharks will start prepping for Jin Air as fast as possible. But I imagine we're going to hear from Kuzan, who I just assume is a captain here. Maybe even our good friend, Coach Soulstrats. I'd like to hear from him. I haven't heard him speak Korean before because, of course, used to dealing with him in the OPL. But we can throw it over to Kuzan interview very shortly, and then we all come back on Sunday, and you and I get to speculate because right now it feels like work to be done by the Sharks.
Yeah, and honestly, I'd be happy with either of those teams that do make it. So it should be a really fun Sunday. Either we get the new faces of the Sharks or Jin Air, an org that's been around for quite a long time that's, slowly getting onto that level.
Slowly.
Very slowly.
Nailed it.
Yeah, they're trying different picks, but either way, I'm going to hand it over to Ji-Sun for the translation of the interview.
Thank you very much, guys. This is today's winner interpret translation, and we're going to be hearing Kuzan representing his team, ES Sharks. It was a full 5-set match. Wasn't it tiring? It was really hot in the States, so I was sweating a bit. But we got a good result, so I'm really happy right now. If it gets too hot, maybe you can take off your jacket, okay? So, it was a matchup against the Challenges Korea team. How did you prepare for today's series? Well, we just wanted to do the things that we are good at. And we were just wanting to make sure to take down VSG. However, whenever we play up against VSG, we have 10 opponents to prepare, so it's really actually annoying. I just listen to my teammates, you know, and especially our support. He's really proactive during the pick and bans and drafts, so it was really helpful. And also, VSG is really strong in best of 5. They also have a reverse sweep recently, so did you expect this victory today? Well, I thought that we were gonna pick up a very hard win, you know. After losing the first game, I was like, oh, this is really hard, but we were able to come back in game 2 and, you know, energize back, so we were able to close out the game in our hand. Well, in the previous series, you were facing up against the Jin-Air, which is your former team, so what kind of feedback did you guys have after that series? Well, actually, we were making so many mistakes in the early game, and we weren't able to pick up some of the picks that we were confident with. And that was also our first experience at Lowell Park, so we had a bit of a pressure, so maybe those were some hard things that we had to face. Well, I don't really get affected by the new stadium, but I mean, anyways, all the players had to sit on a different chair, use different desks, so it was a little bit different. Who was struggling the most? My team?
그런 얘기 많이 했던 선수 있으신가요?
And everybody was feeling uncomfortable in everything. Well, however, you guys looked very adapted today, right? Well, today, to be honest, not 100%, but well, during the 5 sets of game, you know, it was really extended. So I hope we are more adapted than today when we are facing up against Jin-Air this Sunday. Well, you guys got only 1 day to prepare. How are we going to prepare for the Jin-Air series then? Well, in our last series, we were, we weren't really powerful in that series, and I know maybe Coach Han kind of underestimated us, but I just want to make sure to give our revenge on them. And Kuzan, there are a lot of fans watching you guys and supporting you. So any last message for the fans looking at the camera? Well, thank you for all the fans who has been supporting us throughout the promotions, and I hope you guys keep supporting us. Thank you.
여러분, 쿠잔 선수에게 큰 박수 부탁드립니다. 저희 하루 뒤에 이제
see you Sunday, Kuzan, at the finals match. Hope you prepare really well, and I hope you get adapted to Lowell Park maybe this Sunday. Thank you very much for this interview, and I'm gonna pass it back to our casters. Thank you.
네, 쿠잔 선수와 함께했습니다. 중계선 연결할게요.
Thank you, Ji-sun, for that wonderful translation of what was a pretty straightforward and,
well, it took some turns.
Short, kind of short interview.
That's true. So. I thought you were talking about the series.
Oh, yeah, no. Just the interview here, guys. Definitely was a series to remember as we went down memory lane and talked about a lot of random stuff. But one thing is for certain, we've only got 1 match left. It's Jin-Air versus the Sharks to decide the last team to join KT to re-get into LCK.
It's going to be an eventful Sunday as well, the LPL Grand Final. Invictus Gaming versus JD Gaming. So whether you're multi-twitching, whether you're just tuning in during breaks, or whether you're giving us your undivided attention, we would love to invite you for some more Korean League of Legends. But it's that big match day, LMS Final tomorrow, LPL Final on Sunday. Then all our business is done in Korea and around the world, and all that's left is MSI.
It's going to be a blast for sure, but we kind of have to clear things up and clean things up here and kind of make LCK Summer into what it is going to be. Yeah, you know, just shuffle your papers and, you know, like do a little, you know, some of this. And you know, we could have some of the ripping up of the papers, some new teams coming in, but you never really know. until we do hit Sunday. So any last thoughts, Papa?
Bring on
Anything else?
Sunday. Bring on the LPL final. Bring on all the great League of Legends, because we're going to have a little bit of a break before NSI.
Yeah, we are, guys. So I hope you do join us here for Sunday for that final match of Jin Air versus ES Sharks. One last best of 5 to decide who's going to make it into LCK. Should be a really fun one. I know if I were watching, I'd have all the streams up on all the monitors and all that stuff. Make sure you guys are doing the same, and we'll see you on Sunday.